most of the funds raised by the Team Asha folk is for the umbrella chapter, which is called Asha for Education. We support kids in India, and every year about $60K are raised through this effort. And you can see some of the participants, and then this both men and women. All of them have achieved this target. Almost, we have 100% success in achieving a 100K target. Simply because the 10-week is a sufficiently slow ramp, and it's not a very rapid ramp. And then comes, of course, when I come to Chennai, I always enjoy riding here with, some of my friends who also have started recently. Recently, we went to Pulicat Lake, but of course, all the way from here is quite a distance. We start a little bit. We drive up, take the bikes in a car, and go closer to Gumripundi or somewhere there, and then start from there. And this was on one of those rides. We were in Sriharikota actually. And then Mahabalipuram is a very common, no-brainer ride. You start in Adyar or Madhya Kailash, and you're there in 2 to 2.5 hours. You're there, and another equal amount to come back. And there's a nice A2B there to get your breakfast. And then comes, when you start early, because cycling in Chennai has to start at 5, you can't start too late. So you get the wonderful sights of Napier Bridge when you go past it at 5:45. And this one was a trip to Ennore, and that's the doctor I was talking to. So he also cycles a fair amount. And this is the group I volunteer with. We take them on all these rides across the Golden Gate, and it's quite exciting for all of them. Usually we have about 30 riders on these rides. And there comes. Occasionally, the Bay Area we get snow. And in the mountain there's a small hill. I mean, it's not super high, but it's fairly high, 4,000 feet. And once in a few years you get snow, and of course it's nice to go up there and see it. So that's another one of my rides. I also took my son on a ride in Canada called the Route Verte, which is along the St. Lawrence. It's a beautiful ride, and they have plenty of bike bed and breakfast on the way. So you can stop every 30-40 kilometers and get some things. It was quite fun, and I rented this double bike, so he's not on his own. And then there's lots of other rides that I've been to, which is, it's in the PDF, so you can, if you have any questions on these, you can go through it. The crowning achievement of my cycling career so far was this. It's all recreational. It's not, it's not racing. But still, this is a fairly grueling ride because you do about 1,200 kilometers. It's the equivalent of Chennai to go Mangalore and back. And you kind of do it in one stretch. And I participated in that in 2007. You will see more and more of these words being mentioned, even in Chennai in the next year, because it's run only once in 4 years, this cycling event, and it's called Pari Press Pari. First run 1891, it's still the longest running organized event, and there's a 90-hour time limit. They have 3 categories, but the 90 hours is the most common one, and it's fairly challenging to hit that time limit. So it was. The thing was, training for this was a whole interesting operation. We had some groups there, and we would do weekly, weekly long rides just to get built up to this level. It takes about 6 months of training. So it's kind of, you can say it's like it has the difficulty of, say, scaling a high mountain like Everest, but not the danger. Everest is a completely different ballgame. So, but it is somewhere in that category. I would say probably 60%. And the qualification criteria are very simple. Qualifying criteria, not qualification, but you must complete what's called a series of rides, and they call it the brevets. That's the French term. They are all in kilometers, so 2, 3, 4, 6 is are the checkpoints. They're all timed self-supported rides, and run. It's similar to Rotary. They have an officer who will verify the fact you've done it. And once you have completed these 4 rides, you can then send in your registration to participate in the PBP. And the next one PBP coming up is 2023. So I think the contingent from India is growing by leaps and bounds every year. And there'll probably be 100 to 200, if not more, coming from all over the country. And more and more you hear these, when you stand in a coffee shop, people will be talking about brevettes. And it's for this event, actually. And it's kind of a cachet, it's run once in 4 years. So people have a strong desire to go participate in this. My personal case, after all the training, I said, okay, but we have to go to Paris, so I packed the bikes. And of course, like I was mentioning, I looked for the airline which takes the bike for free, and in this case, I managed to pack it in such a size that it was airline regulation, so I didn't have to pay a dime of excess baggage. So I just built these boxes out of plastic and managed to take it along. And you just take it a little bit apart, not fully, just enough to transport it. You finish all your gear check in, and then you have some time for sightseeing. There's registration, and you can see that the one at the bottom right, they had a check-in for India. I'll tell you something interesting about it. They had only one participant that year. That was me. So, the night the ride starts at night. For some strange reason, it starts at 10 p.m. So you have to wear all this reflective clothing, and then you set off with 2,000 or 3,000 other riders. And you follow these signs. These are all reflective signs, so you can see them all the way clearly shining at you. And you follow this alley is for out, and retour for return. So you just make sure you don't follow the wrong sign, otherwise you'll finish your ride faster than you thought. And of course, a lot of interesting groups that come in with multiple. This is a group of 4 riders. Sometimes people come with very old bikes. And this one had a very vintage model where you had to pedal backwards to make it shift. A lot of people are very intrigued by it, and they're observing it. And about 13 checkpoints where you can stop, and you have to actually stop and get your passport stamped because they want to make sure you get in at a certain time window. You ride in groups if you can. If you're really tired, you have to sleep because you have a 90-hour time limit, but at the same time, you need a few, half an hour, 45 minutes nap here and there, and a lot of people just crash on the roadside. And eventually you reach the halfway point and turn around. The kind of clothing you need is for both day and night because you have to be very visible. And you can see that the reflective thing makes you really shine in the night. And you have to carry a lot of your gear. It's self-supported, so that's why you can see there are small bags that you have to carry to take all your equipment. And this is the passport where you get stamps. So at each checkpoint you go and get a stamp. If you miss the checkpoint window, you're out. So that's the rule. And you keep going. This is the onboard. Saint Quentin, Boulogne, and Brest, where you see on the top right. That's the turnaround point. And then now again you come back and finish off at Saint Quentin, which is where you finish the ride. And since I got all the stamps, I think I finished on time. And the time limit is 90, and I had 89 or 700, so that was enough. And most important is I did not DNF. DNF did not finish. Non-sport, you probably know, right? DNF means you didn't finish or out of time. And for me personally, it was hard in some places. You feel like giving up because it's tiring. But it was not an option because there was only one registrant from India, and that person quit. We had 100% DNF, and that's not at all nice. So I had to keep going. And of course, you can see the
Sorry, were there prizes for this, or it was not a race?
It's not a race. It's an organized finishing. The prize is you can say I finished it. You know, it's like a.
This is the prize.
This is the prize. Yeah, the prize is the fact that you completed. And it's an experience more than the prize. And of course, I mean, my timing was, you can see by country, it is one by one, right? I was the last 2% of the finishers because, you know, I was constantly fighting the controls. But if I take all the people who did not finish, there's about 1,500 didn't finish. And then I was doing much better because, you know, and it was 100% finish when they did. I mean, the point is, somebody asked, you know, what is the point of all this, right? Why do you do this? Is there any, do you learn anything, or, you know, why do you torture yourself? But I think there are some lessons in life from these kind of exercises. It's just like a marathon, right? You always, first you're pushing your limit. And then the other thing is, there are some things like, how do you tackle a large problem? You break it into small pieces, right? And pain is also temporary. You know, after you give it a few hours, it's gone, and then you regret, hey, I could have done it, right? And also there is this never give up attitude. 33% of the people dropped out, even though they had completed all the qualifying events. People had dropped out at every control, even the first control, partly because it was a very rainy year that year. There was heavy rain and people just didn't want to deal with it. So, and the training only requires you to do half the distance, not the entire distance. But you know, you still have to. So that's the other thing. You know, you have to go a little unprepared. You don't. It's not like an exam where you know everything. You're going into an exam and you're trying to figure out something on the spot. And I think that feels good sometimes. Hey, I cracked that. And also, don't give up. You know, until and unless they take it away from you, do not hand over the car. And it's the same thing in life. You do not give up until you have to, right, for some other external reason. And the final thing is, what's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? Even if you did fail. So, you know, keep trying. I think there are some parallels that you can take in life from this, which is why it's, and it's also fun when you ride with other people that you know and enjoy riding with. I stole this from Mr. Madhu. He had put it in his email, and I think this actually just summarizes very nicely. You cycle for health, you cycle for joy, and you cycle for friendship. Thank you very much.